So after 3 years on YouTube, I figure it's about time I do my first tool review. Well, sort of. So today we're going to take a look at the 12-inch Bosch articulating arm miter saw. I'm going to tell you what I like about it and what I don't like about it. Before we dive headlong into this, I want to say one thing. I am not a tool expert. I've got 25 years in the woodworking industry professionally. I've used a ton of different tools over the years, both garage style and commercial style stuff. So to that end, that's how I'm going to approach this. I'm going to talk about this tool as a woodworker, not a tech guy. So lots of information available about this saw online, the RPMs, the horsepower, the amps, everything. All that information is readily available just through a simple Google search. So what I want to do is talk about the saw itself and its performance as I see it. Now, first of all, the coolest thing about this saw, and probably the one thing that I love the most, is its space-saving capability. Just being able to mount this on a bench that's 22 inches deep and still being able to have it all function and use is phenomenal, especially for a guy in a two-car garage. Those extra few inches of bench space really make a big difference when it comes to keeping the garage as open as possible. So from the back of the saw to the front of the bed where it mounts is literally only 20 inches. So you need about a 21-inch bench to mount this on. And when this thing is folded up, it really doesn't get in the way. As per mentioned, the saw works off an articulating arm. An articulating arm is basically just two hinges, one horizontal, one vertical, so they're perpendicular, so they're opposing each other, and that creates a very beautiful, very easy glide motion. In fact, it's so easy, it can be a little bit weird to get used to. But Bosch has thought of that, and they have installed back here a glide movement controller. Simply by adjusting with the tension with an Allen wrench here, you can make this feel like there's a little more tension in the movement, or you can leave it like it is, like I did. I left it alone and just kind of got used to it, and it didn't take long. So this saw does adjust from right to left, so it miters both ways, about 55 degrees on the left and 60 degrees on the right. So it's nice to have that extra 5 degrees on the right from time to time when it's called for. It also bevels or adjusts this way, this direction. So just by pulling an arm down here, I can adjust this saw to the left up to 45 degrees. And if I want it to go to the right, there's a second knob that I turn, and then I can adjust it to the right up to 45 degrees as well. The cut depth on this is really nice. It's 14 inches in the 90-degree angle position, and when you move it to a 45-degree position, you can cut 9 3/4 if you really squeeze it. Now when it comes to cutting power, this saw has enough power to cut through anything you want and some to burn. Across the board, this is the most accurate sliding compound saw I've ever used. I did a demonstration on Twitch a couple nights ago live where I had made some trim using a table saw, just some fluted trim, and at the end of the Twitch I made this box over here on the miter saw. And it was a live demonstration, there was no funny play, but look at the miters on this. You dial this in and it is dead on. So I know one of the questions that's going to come up is there movement when the saw is fully extended? Lateral movement, yes, there is. It's not much. It's much less than the last saw I had in the shop. And you know, to be honest, out of all the sliding saws I've used over the last 25 years, never come across one that did not have lateral movement. I will say this is very minimal and it's sturdy, so it's not, you've got to put some effort into it to give it that movement, unlike some of the other saws I've used. And even the Festool, the DeWalt, they all have that lateral movement, and that's part of learning to use a miter saw when you're making those really long miters, that you don't put pressure either direction, you keep a sharp blade in, and that's going to keep those miters nice and true. So for the $60 more that this costs than say the DeWalt or some of the other saws out there, I would definitely spend the extra $60 and get this just for the space saving alone, let alone the performance. This thing will outperform a DeWalt any day of the week. hands down, in my opinion. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this saw is the wider kerf in here for the blade. Now that's there because when the saw articulates to the side, it comes in at a little bit of a different angle. So this blade, this gap has to be a little bit wider, which can be a real pain in the butt if you're only trimming a 1/4 inch off the end of something. It wants to fall in there, get caught, and go shooting out, which isn't a huge deal since I use zero clearance tape on all my chop boxes. That gets rid of that. But that is one thing I didn't care for. Okay, so the last rub on this is the dust collection, and that's across the board. I've never found a miter saw with good dust collection, ever. So this is what came on the saw right here. I've actually removed it. I have a 6-inch pipe right behind her that I use for my dust collection, and it does a fair job. Now, if you got to take this into a house where you're really trying hard to keep the dust collection down, this does remove some of the chips, but it's not, you know, 50%, I'd say. So I would say definitely get a hood for this if you're going to take it into somebody's home and you're worried about dust control. And that's across the board. That's any saw I've ever used, ever. So it's not unique to this particular saw. So would I recommend this saw? 100% recommend this saw. It's not the cheapest saw out there on the market. It's $660, $669 retail. I believe that's Home Depot prices. It's definitely not the bargain deal. Is it worth the money? 100% worth the money. This is my saw. This is a saw that I will own forever and ever. Very accurate, easy to use, plenty powerful. It just gets the job done. And on top of that, I don't have a 32-inch bench sticking out into the middle of my 2-car garage. Just the space saving alone is worth the extra money to me. Thanks for watching.